Hey everybody, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician here. How's everybody doing? I hope this video finds everybody doing well. I'm doing great. First of all, I want to start off by saying thank you to all of my, what is now, I believe, 1,707 subscribers. That's pretty awesome. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching and supporting me. I never really thought I would get there, and who knows what the future's gonna hold. If you've been one of my subscribers, then you've probably watched me grow on this channel a little bit, and so some of my videos, the quality of them have changed, and the camera work. I know on some of my older first videos there's some criticism there about how the camera wiggles a lot and whatnot, so I've definitely come up a little bit. I've definitely changed and whatnot. So I've totally decided that I'm not gonna go and move into a commercial shop. I'm not gonna attempt to make a commercial shop business. I would like to go ahead and invest everything I have into YouTube and see just how big I can get this channel going, and all that other good stuff. I'm excited because I think it'll both benefit me and it'll benefit you with all the projects I work on, all the jobs that I do, and all that other good stuff. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is helping you guys out. So since my subscribers have jumped up to 1,700 and my views have jumped up, I've really noticed a lot of you have asked me questions and commented in all of my different videos. I've gotten some pretty awesome emails from you guys. I've even exchanged some phone numbers with some people and given some people some calls and been able to walk them through processes and procedures, how to diagnose something, what to look for, how to fix it. And honestly, that makes me feel really good. That I think that's worth more than any money I could ever make off of YouTube, is knowing that I'm able to help people. I really like it when I get in touch with somebody from Georgia who needs help fixing this, or somebody from Florida who needs help fixing that, or somebody from Texas. You know, I just think that's cool. So definitely keep emailing me, definitely keep hitting me up in the comments. I will do everything I can to get back to you within a decent amount of time. I have noticed that there are some people, like as I'm going through the comments, I'll see that, oh man, that person asked me a question 2 months ago and I just didn't see it or whatever, and so to those people I apologize. So I've decided what I'll start doing is like doing a weekly video where I can answer some questions for you guys. If you email them to me, if you put them in the comments, I'll just go through on the computer here and I'll just answer some questions. So just to give you some background information on me, I am Matt, your friendly neighborhood mechanic, your friendly neighborhood technician. I got this shirt for my birthday, so I think it's really cool. And they put your friendly neighborhood mechanic. So I say your friendly neighborhood technician because if you watch my videos, if you're part of my channel here, you'll notice there's a video on just about everything on there, from automotive repair to marine, jet skis and boats, to small engines, lawnmowers, weed eaters, to even electronics like your Xbox, game consoles, your flat screen TVs. I get into it all. Let me tell you, I've got a great mechanical aptitude. I've been doing stuff like this now for like 18 to 20 years. I lost count off the top of my head. Since I was 18 and could work, this is what I've done. Turn wrenches, diagnose, electronics, repair, fix, build, fabricate, you name it. And I'm not gonna stop doing it no matter what. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's see what I can answer. Let's go over some questions and stuff. And as my YouTube channel grows and I do start making a little bit more money off of it, I'm going to go ahead and invest into things like better cameras, maybe even get a little studio set up. And I ultimately hope to maybe be able to work in a live segment, like maybe 30 minutes every Friday night, to do a live segment where I can answer questions for you. You can come on, we can interact and talk and all that other cool stuff. So, but for right now, I think this is going to be the beginning of interacting with you, is just making and posting videos and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's see, I'm gonna just kind of pick them out in my comments. So I've got one here. So I've got a video. I had a customer come in who had a Saturn Vue, and they were having all kinds of weird electrical issues with it, no start issues, dash lights weren't acting right, all kinds of stuff. They'd spent a ton of money at the dealer, and it was not doing any good. Hold on a second, let me find my dog. Ruby! There she is. Everybody, just in case you haven't met her, this is Ruby. Ruby! She's running around. Ruby! There she is. That's my awesome dog, Ruby. Ruby, sit. Ruby, sit. There you go. Say hi. There must be a dog out there. She's sniffing like crazy. So that's Ruby. Just in case you haven't met her yet, you might see her in some of my videos. She hangs out with me all the time. So, okay, back to the Saturn. So I had somebody come in with a Saturn, all kinds of electrical issues and stuff like that. And come on, Ruby, let's go inside. Go inside. Good dog. And they spent a ton of money at the dealer and at shops, and they couldn't get it figured out what was wrong with it. So they brought it to me. One of the things I can't stand doing, but I'm really good at, is electrical issues. I just don't necessarily like taking the time to chase wiring harnesses and electrical shorts and all that other stuff, but I am really good at it and I have the patience for it, so I do it. So long story short, that's what I did. Come to find out that the body control module was bad on it, got it repaired, replaced it. They have been a repeat customer since then. I've worked on 3 other vehicles of theirs, including this BMW X5. So they've been great customers. Now, I made a video about that, and I noticed that it's gotten a lot of comments, a lot of questions, and I've been able to help a lot of people based off of that video. So let's look at some of the questions that we have on this video right now. So the most recent one is, hey Matt, I have a 2003 L300 with a no start, no fuel, no spark. I cleaned the connections and the base of the ECM, but nothing. Also checked all the fuses and relays, no luck. I also noticed that the fuel gauge is all the way to empty. Could I have a bad BCM? Please help, thanks a lot. You know, let's see, the first things that jump out at me on that is no start, no fuel or spark. A BCM has nothing to do with anything outside of the hood, basically, or let's say outside of the firewall. So a BCM, it doesn't provide power to your fuel pump. All it does is provide power to your fuel gauge on your dash. So that's what allows it to move up and down and all that other good stuff. So basically, your fuel gauge in your gas tank, as it moves up and down, it sends a signal to the computer. The computer reads that, sends a signal to the BCM. The BCM does not determine whether your tank is full or not. The BCM just simply gives the power to that cluster of gauges to allow it to work. So the fact that I think I would take out of that equation right now that the fuel gauge is all the way to empty. Now you have a no fuel, no spark issue. If the fuel pump is not being powered, the fuel gauge is gonna work as part of the fuel pump assembly, not just the pump, but the assembly as a whole. If that fuel pump assembly is bad, if it's not receiving power like it should be, if the fuel pump is not kicking on because it's not receiving power like it should be, then the fuel gauge is not going to register in the tank and it's not going to register on your dashboard. But on top of that, no fuel issue, there's also no spark. And that makes me wonder what's going on. A few suggestions. It could be a bad ECM. Your ECM's not communicating with your fuel pump. Your ECM's not communicating with your coils or anything like that. And so maybe the ECM is bad. Cleaning the let's see, I cleaned the connections and the base of the ECM, but nothing. That's a good start right there. I can't tell you how many times I've had situations like this where something acts funny. I simply uninstall an ECM, or I simply unplug a electrical connection, blow it off, get all the dust and grime out of it, and lo and behold, it works. So that's a good start. However, I suspect you might have an issue with some sensors not working right. Like, for example, your crankshaft position sensor. So your crankshaft position sensor is what's going to speak to your ECM, and that's where your timing's going to come from. That's how your electronic fuel injectors are going to know when to fire. That's when your fuel pump's going to know when to come on. When you stick the key in and you turn it on, you have power to your fuel pump. You should hear your fuel pump come on. But how does it know to constantly stay running? That all works off of the camshaft position sensors, the crankshaft position sensors. That's where all that timing comes from. It's sent to the ECM. The ECM translates it and then sends the proper signals and powers out to your spark plugs, out to your fuel injectors, and all that other good stuff. So without looking at it myself, just off the top of my head, I'd say if you already checked your ECM and that looks good, I would go ahead and start looking at sensors, seeing if the crankshaft position sensor is receiving and giving the proper signal. You can do that by using a simple multimeter, set it on DC volts, pull the plug on it, stick your multimeter positive in there, ground it out, and just see if you're getting anywhere between 5 to 12 volts to and from your to or from your crankshaft position sensor, your camshaft position sensors. Check the voltage at your fuel injectors. Make sure you're getting proper voltage there, and then go ahead and see if you can find or locate easily the electrical connection for your fuel pump. Check and make sure that you're getting proper voltage there. And if you can, go ahead and report back to me. So there's some suggestions for that problem there. Let's go ahead and see if there's any other questions that I can answer. Let me go in here to my Creator Studio. Okay, here's one that's actually in my email. And again, I love it when you guys email me. You can find my email in the About section on my YouTube channel. So right here, they asked me, hey, you wouldn't happen to know where the BCM is located on a 2007 Nissan Murano? Yes, I do. On the Nissan Murano, and I believe most Nissans, the BCM is going to be located, and that's the body control module, not the electronic control module. The BCM is going to be located behind or underneath the instrument cluster. Some of them have them underneath the instrument cluster, so all you have to do is remove the bottom kick plate off of the dashboard, and then you can look up in there. If you have your hood latch and then your fuses, you're gonna find your BCM up behind your fuses. Now that's on the Nissan Murano. So that's where you'll find your BCM. Most Nissans have the body control module underneath the dash, or you have to pull the instrument cluster out in order to gain access to the BCM. So there you go. The BCM on the Nissan Murano is definitely underneath the dashboard. If you need more detailed information on that one, go ahead and give me a holler, and I can send you some diagrams on the location of where that is. All right, so let's see what else we have here. Here's one, 1996 Ford Explorer timing cover gasket replacement. Let me tell you something, that can be a beast of a job. So this gentleman, hi Matt, thanks for the note. I'm trying to save my poor 1996 Explorer XLT from the junkyard. I have had bad leaks in order to replace the water pump. My mechanic thinks it is a timing cover or the timing cover gasket. He says it's too much wrenching, but I already took the water pump off today and now do not know how to proceed. Your video on the rusted timing cover concerned me, as I do not possess your skill or your wide range of tools. I can't even find a simple video on how to take off the darn cover. Any help or advice provided would be very appreciated. You know what? I mean, I'm gonna be modest here. I'm just a dude. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've been into all kinds of engines, and I've seen all kinds of issues. And so maybe I am skillful, I don't know. But you don't have to have a whole lot of skill to do this. A lot of it's just common sense stuff, and I find myself overcomplicating a lot of things. So one of the things he seems to be having a problem with is getting that darn timing cover off. So let's talk about the 1996 Ford Explorer, specifically the water pump, the timing cover, and how it's set up. I've got a bolt here just to use as an example. Now, the water pump on the 96 Ford Explorer, especially the 5.0 liter, the water pump is bolted to the block through the timing cover. So you're going to have a big long bolt like this one, okay? And it's going to go through the water pump, through the timing cover, into the engine block. So that means on this bolt, you're going to have at one point a water pump gasket, a timing cover gasket, and then an engine block, okay? Now, when I first started pulling timing covers, one of the first things that always got me, that I would always overlook, are I would get all the timing cover bolts around the timing cover that bolted it into the block. I would get all those off, but then I would forget to look underneath the oil pan and get the 4 bolts that go through the oil pan up into the bottom of the timing cover. And there's a lot of vehicles out there that have those bolts. As a matter of fact, I learned the hard way one day when I tried to pull a timing cover off. I forgot to look underneath those oil pans. I'm fighting it, and finally went, "Urgh!" Then I jerked it real hard, and lo and behold, I broke the timing cover. From that point on, I always made sure to remember to look for those oil pan to timing cover bolts to get those off. So that could be one reason. But on the Ford Explorer, the 96 Ford Explorer, the vehicle that this guy's talking about, what happens is if you get a water pump leak, so remember you have a big bolt that goes through there that mounts the water pump. So you have water pump gasket, timing cover gasket, and then you have the engine block. Hold on a second, guys. I've got a kiddo asking me for a cup of milk, and this is actually why I stay home and work, is so I can raise my 4 kiddos. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. So, where were we? Don't forget the oil pan and timing cover bolts on the Ford Explorer. Also, you're going to have a big bolt like this, and what you're going to have is you're going to have water pump gasket, timing cover gasket, engine block, okay? So what happens on the Ford Explorer, and actually Chevy, some of the older model Chevys have this set up too, where they have a big bolt that goes through the water pump, through the timing cover and into the block. If you've had a leak at any time where this bolt is around the water pump gasket or the timing cover gasket, that means coolant and oil have now gotten into and contaminated this bolt, all right? And what'll happen is you'll find that you can't get this bolt off. You can't twist it because it's literally rusted and grown together where the timing cover is or where the water pump is. Sometimes you'll find that you can go ahead, you'll break the bolt off and you can pull the water pump off, but you can't pull the timing cover off because it's seized. Sometimes that timing cover will seize to the block itself, and it can be extremely hard to get off. Here's the catch if you get a seized up timing cover on an engine block. There is no necessarily any type of professional procedure for getting that timing cover off. I've never been able to get one off without having to cut it off or destroy it in order to get it off. And if you're taking the timing cover off anyways, off of that Ford Explorer, it's probably a good idea just to get you a new one to put it back on anyways, along with new bolts, because that's what they're known for doing. They're known for corroding the bolts because of the way it's set up, and they're known for getting stuck to the engine block. So first thing, check those oil pan bolts. Make sure you got that off. Second thing, if you've already got your water pump off but it's a broken bolt, you're gonna have to cut it off, and then you're gonna have to extract your bolt. If you've got all your bolts off and you're pulling on that timing cover, it's very possible that, as we call it, it has grown to the engine block. At that point, take you a big hammer, and there you go. That's how you're gonna get that off. Knock it off with a hammer. Use an air chisel. Don't destroy the block. Be careful destroying the block. Don't hit the block or anything like that. But you're probably going to have to destroy that to get it off. As far as removing a harmonic balancer in order to get your timing cover off, let me tell you, I have fought more harmonic balancers in my time to get them off than I can shake a stick at. Nowadays I use a 1,000-pound air gun at 90 psi in order to pull off my harmonic balancer. Sometimes that doesn't even work. Sometimes I have to get a big chain tool, wrap it around the harmonic balancer, do it in such a way so that it doesn't destroy the harmonic balancer, and then get a 6-foot extension pole and just use raw force to get a crankshaft bolt out. But once you get that crankshaft bolt out, now you're stuck with trying to get the harmonic balancer off. I think maybe in 1 in 10 harmonic balancers that I pull off come off easily. The rest I have to use a couple different tools, like a 3-jaw puller or a specific harmonic balancer remover in order to get them off. And when it comes to reinstalling a harmonic balancer, you also want to get an installer. Do not tap or hit your harmonic balancer to try to get it back on. You'll end up hurting it or destroying it. So there's the answer to that. Let's keep moving forward here and see what else I can find in my email. I don't see too many other emails. Let's go ahead and go back to YouTube here and see what other questions I can answer. Okay, here's one on Toyota valve timing adjustment. Let me get this pulled up. Hello everybody, it is I, Matthew, your friendly neighborhood... Probably hear me talking there. Okay, so... on this video, I'm explaining valve clearance on a Toyota engine. And valve clearance is the clearance between the bucket lifter and the camshaft lobe, basically. And so some people are asking about the math and how to properly do that. So when it comes to valve adjustments, whether it's a Toyota, whether it's a Nissan, you can always look up underneath the hood. Let me see if I can take you here and give you an example. You can always look underneath the hood and get your valve adjustment information, if you can see that there. So like, for example, to properly adjust the valves on this Nissan, which I've got over here on this cylinder head. So the factory adjustment specification on that is 14 thousandths of an inch on the intake side and 15 thousandths of an inch on the exhaust side. I'll be right back. Now, what they mean by that is, in order to ensure that the valve is closed properly and that you've got good compression on your engine, you need to be able to take a feeler gauge that's 14 thousandths of an inch, and with the cam lobe pointing up, so with the elongated part or teardrop part of the cam lobe, with that pointing up, you need to be able to fit this feeler gauge in between the camshaft and the bucket lifter. Like so. Here's one. So with that pointing up, and you can see now I've got that feeler gauge down inside of there, okay? And that means that there's 14 thousandths of an inch clearance in between that bucket lifter and in between that cam lobe, okay? If you cannot fit 14 thousandths of an inch in between there, so let's say you've got your cam lobe up and you can't fit 14 thousandths of an inch in between there, then you need to start moving your feeler gauge up. Let me go grab the feeler gauge for an example. Or down until you can fit a feeler gauge in there. So let's say the factory specification says you need to be able to fit 14 thousandths of an inch in between that cam lobe and that bucket lifter, but you can't. But let's say you move down to 10 thousandths of an inch. Let's say you move it to 10 thousandths of an inch and you're able to fit that 10 thousandths of an inch in between there. Well, at 10 thousandths of an inch, that's going to basically mean that your valve is open. 14 thousandths of an inch means that your valve is definitely shut. You'll have good compression in that cylinder. But anything less than 14 thousandths of an inch means that the valve is actually open by that much underneath the cylinder, and you'll lose compression. So how do you adjust? Some vehicles have wafers on top of the lifters, and you can push the lifter down, you can pull the wafer out. Now, at that point, you can get super technical, and you can use a tool like this. This is called a micrometer, and you can measure that wafer, the thickness of that wafer, until you find one that is 4 thousandths of an inch less than what you already have in there. Replace that wafer out, and then at that point you should be able to fit your 14 thousandths of an inch in there. Some vehicles have bucket lifters, and so again, you want to do the math, and you want to be able to take a bucket lifter that is 4 thousandths of an inch thinner than the one that you currently have in there, and that's how you make your adjustment, and then you should be able to fit your 14 thousandths of an inch in there. Another way you can do that without having to do a bunch of math is you can go to your local dealership and you can ask them for a list of bucket lifter measurements or wafer measurements. So let's say you have one that measures out to 7.28 millimeters, but you can't fit your 14 thousandths of an inch in there. So then you just look at your math here, your different sizes, and you're going to pick a bucket lifter that's a little bit thinner than the one that you currently have. So if I had 7.28, I might go to 7.26 millimeters. Stick that bucket lifter in there, retake my measurement. Now here's the catch. A bucket lifter or a valve measurement that is too tight, in other words, you can't fit the factory specification feeler gauge in there, let's say it's 14 thousandths of an inch, that means that the valve is open. That means you need to remove that bucket lifter or that wafer and find one that is thinner than your current one, put it in there and remeasure. However, sometimes you'll find that you'll stick your feeler gauge right in there and it'll just go in, whoo, just super easy. You can wiggle it around. That means that you have more than 14 thousandths of an inch clearance in between there. So now let's say you take it up to 17 thousandths of an inch, which is 4 thousandths of an inch thicker than factory specification, and you can still fit that 17 thousandths of an inch in there, but it's nice and tight. Here's the catch on that. If you can fit a thicker feeler gauge in there, that's guaranteed that your valve is closed. The engine's gonna run good. you just might get a little bit of lashing noise, that tick, 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 because that bucket lifter, that wafer in there is moving around and it's hitting the camshaft. This is where some people don't understand the mechanics on how things work. There is nothing wrong with that. And actually, if I have a valve measurement that 14 thousandths of an inch, again, we're just using this as a number, is real loose, and I take it up 5 thousandths of an inch to 17 or 18 thousandths of an inch, and that fits in there nice and tight, I won't readjust it. Now, if we're talking like the difference of a 10 thousandths of an inch, and I've got 14 thousandths of an inch, and I take it all the way up to 20 or 22 thousandths of an inch, and I'm still loose in there, then it's time to consider a bucket lifter or a wafer that is not thinner than your current wafer or bucket lifter, but is thicker. So again, you'll go to your math here, which preferably you just want to go to the dealer and get you a list of bucket lifters and all the sizes that they offer. And now you're going to want to get a bucket lifter that is thicker. So hopefully that'll kind of answer some questions that you might have concerning valve adjustments and how to do that. Okay, last but not least on here, I had somebody ask me, what do you do with an O2 code? What do you change for that? That's a bad O2 sensor, I suspect is what they're saying. When it comes to a bad O2 sensor, one of the things that you want to do is try to get you a computer that reads live data, or get a multimeter so you can go ahead and check that O2 sensor. An O2 sensor code doesn't always necessarily mean that the O2 sensor itself is bad. There could be other issues. It could be a catalytic converter, it could be an intake gasket leak, could be something going on with the exhaust, you name it. So whenever I see O2 sensor codes come up on a car, I always like to go the extra step, make sure that it actually is the O2 sensor that's bad. There's been times where I've found that it wasn't the O2 sensor. The O2 sensor kicked the check engine light on because it was actually working correctly, and there was another underlying issue on it. So that's just some good information there for O2 sensors. Well, folks, I think I'm going to run out of video space here pretty soon, and I don't want this video to cut off. So like I said, in the future, I'm going to start trying to work on getting set up, maybe with a camera and studio, so that I can start doing live segments and all that other good stuff. I'm always open to your comments and your thoughts and suggestions. I also like learning from you. Some of you have more experience than I do in certain fields and areas, and you've commented on some things and helped me out and taught me as well. So always remain teachable is part of my philosophy. Most importantly, thank you, my subscribers. Thank you for everybody that watches my videos. Make sure you get in touch with me. I want to interact with you. I want to be able to help you out and all that other good stuff. So in the future, some of the videos that you're going to be seeing, I'm going to be replacing the rack and pinion on this BMW. I'm going to finish up rebuilding this Nissan engine. So that's to come. I've got a Winnebago coming in that sits on a Ford E350 chassis. I'm going to be doing the brakes on that, so that'll be a video to come. And I'm just going to keep steadily moving forward. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all your positive comments. I really appreciate you. This is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood mechanic, friendly neighborhood technician. Please like, subscribe, share the knowledge. I am signing off.